Hi, this is Jay, and this video is about depression and suicide, specifically about suicide, and how one can avoid it, and how one can deal with depression and suicide. So, I'd like to begin by um, talking about thoughts and feelings. So, basically, thoughts and feelings are by nature impermanent, and they're like waves in an ocean or on a lake. They come and they go. They arise in the mind, they have a very brief lifespan, and then they disappear, resolve back into the mind. Now, anything that comes has to go. Anything that is born has to die. That which has a beginning has to have an end. These are just laws of the universe, and we see this in everything. Whether it's in human life, we are born, we have a lifespan, and then we die. Okay, we see this in anything else. You start a game, the game goes on for a while, the game ends. So these are just basic principles or laws of the universe, and the same laws apply to thoughts and feelings too. Any thought or feeling that arises in my mind arises and therefore has a beginning, exists for a brief period of time. Sometimes it's instantaneously disappears, or sometimes it might persist or give rise to similar thoughts and feelings, like when a person is depressed for a period of time. But then it always has to die, it always has to go away. Why? Because it arose, because it was born. So, understanding this can give a person a certain objectivity, a certain space that allows one to deal with depression, or even thoughts of suicide. There are some simple ways to cope with this. So, one is this understanding, cultivating this understanding, or rather being mindful that every thought and feeling that arises in my mind cannot last. No matter how difficult, how painful my experience may be currently, it will come to an end. And so, knowing that, one can cope with depression and even with feelings of suicide. So that's one way, cultivating that. And a good way to cultivate that is by meditation. There's a Zen meditation wherein you basically just observe your thoughts and feelings. You close your eyes and you just observe whatever comes and goes in your mind. And you don't follow it, you don't get attached to it. And if you do, which is normal in the beginning, you gently pull your mind back to just being an observer. So that's a very effective way. Another effective way is something my guru taught me, and that is writing out your feelings. So whenever or if there is pain, you write it out. Okay, keep a journal, write out everything you're feeling, and then when you're done, either you can keep it for yourself or destroy the page, whichever you prefer. But the act of writing it out helps in releasing those feelings from your mind, and that's a very healthy thing, and that helps because once you write it out, it's all gone, and you can move on. So that's the second way. A third way, of course, is, I'm sure suicide hotline people or experts usually say, if you're ever in that position where you're contemplating suicide or hurting yourself in any way, it's always good to talk to someone. Talk to someone who cares, whether it's a family member, a friend, or even call a suicide hotline. Um, I'm not an expert in psychology, but I have a certain expertise in self knowledge, in philosophy, specifically knowledge of the self. And if anyone ever needs to speak to me, you can always reach out to me. I'll give my email, and maybe even my chat ID at the end of the session. And if anybody ever needs to, you can reach out. Once again, I'm not a qualified expert in the traditional sense, but I do have a lot of life experience and knowledge in these matters. Anyway, so and another way to deal with this is also basically, let's see, we covered three thus far. We covered understanding that but thoughts and feelings are temporary, and they arise and they go. And so no matter how difficult my pain may be at this point in time, it will pass. The other way is to write it out, keep a journal, write out your feelings, and purge those feelings from your mind. The third is to talk to someone, when the need arises, if the need arises. And the fourth is basically, it might sound trite or corny, but pray. Even if you're not a religious, but you don't have to be religious. Just pray. Pray. It doesn't have to be God. Pray to a higher power. Pray to the universe. Whatever. Ask for help. And that always works. Why? Because it's an action. Praying is nothing but a subtle action. Okay, it's you're performing an action, and again, as per the laws of the universe, every action will produce a result. So when you pray, something does happen. Okay. Anyway, it's called grace, but the point is, it does work. So here are a few ways that I just wanted to share these with you, and hopefully people who are suffering from depression or even thoughts of suicide will see this video and gain from it. And just a small request to whoever watches this video, if you could share this with loved ones, friends, acquaintances, whoever you feel could gain from this. That would really help. In disseminating this to as many people as possible. That's my aim, to help as many people as possible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and take care, and thank you.